Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Victoria and I am a biomedical engineer. Today's video, I'm so excited about this. I'm going to be giving you a general overview of the women's menstrual cycle and hormone cycle. So if you're a friend of mine, which let's be honest, most of you are, because this is a new channel and most of my subscribers are my friends. You know that I love talking about women's health, especially when it comes to our hormone cycle and how important it is and how it plays such a big role in our lives. I think that unfortunately there is a stigma surrounding our menstrual cycles, and it's always something that's been swept under the rug. As little girls, we're taught to be kind of ashamed of our menstrual cycle, the time of the month that we bleed, and I think that that's really unfortunate because our bodies are created and designed in a way that is just so fascinating and unique. So yeah, I just wanted to give this general overview video. Let's jump into this video. Most women know that they bleed once a month if you're premenopausal, so if you're in your reproductive years. If you're anything like me and my experience growing up in 5th grade, they sat us all down and they just talked about puberty in general and how our bodies were going to start changing. The girls learned about how we would start to bleed once a month, and then they gave us a little package with pads and tampons. And in high school, our health class explaining to us that as females, you can get pregnant if you have sex. And that was pretty much it. Unless I'm remembering that class incorrectly, they told us absolutely nothing about the fact that women have these fertile windows during their monthly cycle. There's just this huge gap in education for young women on their bodies. It's just honestly disturbing. Like, women should be educated about their bodies. Hopefully this video can provide a little bit of insight for you if you're like me and didn't really learn anything throughout elementary and high school. So I have my coffee, my little cute drink as I like to call it, and I have my notes next to me, and we're just gonna have a girly chat about our girly bodies. So let's do it. I'm gonna go grab my book. Okay. I do just want to give a heads up as well that this is the book that I've read. Alisa Vitti is a genius. A lot of the information I'm taking directly from this book. Most people, I think, are aware that we have a circadian rhythm. That is the rhythm of our bodies that helps us get up in the morning and go to sleep at night. So in the morning, cortisol is released. By the end of the day, melatonin is released, and melatonin helps you to go to sleep at night. Both women and men operate on this daily cycle. It's a 24-hour clock, and if you look more deeply into things like Chinese medicine, there's kind of this philosophy that different organs are operating at max capacity at different hours of the day. So you end up with this really well-functioning body rhythm throughout the day. So that is called your circadian rhythm. As women, our bodies also function off of our menstrual cycle. So that is called the infradian rhythm. That's something I hadn't heard of until a couple years ago when I was listening to a podcast about women's health. So your infradian rhythm is typically between 28 and 35 days. The phases are follicular, ovulatory, luteal, and menstrual. One thing that I want to point out, she calls day 1 of your menstrual cycle day 1 of the follicular phase. Traditionally, day 1 has always been called day 1 of your bleed. Your bleed as day 1 is a medical reference that emerged from a time when only men were allowed to practice medicine. It's not the beginning for anyone who bleeds and who lives the experience. Your bleed is the culmination of your hormonal cycle, not the beginning. The only reason the start of your bleed has been referenced as day 1 of your cycle is that it was assumed that the bleeding phase is the only one you would notice or track, and thereby make it easier for doctors to reference. Your hormone cycle it leads up to your bleed. It doesn't start with your bleed. And this notion that day 1 is day 1 of your bleed is just kind of skewed. So if it ever gets confusing, just keep in mind that she has kind of this different philosophy surrounding day 1. You have a couple different hormones that play key roles. One of them is estrogen, and that's kind of the like feminine energy hormone. That hormone is responsible for thickening the uterine lining. So the blood that builds up on your uterus and then you eventually bleed out, estrogen is responsible for thickening that and making it ready for an egg to be implanted. The next one is progesterone. So that hormone is responsible for keeping the uterine lining intact after ovulation, like I said, for an egg to be implanted. And then there's follicle stimulating hormone. This hormone is responsible for maturing an egg that's going to be released. And there's luteinizing hormone. This hormone peaks, and as it peaks, that triggers an egg to be released into the fallopian tube. And then the last one is testosterone. And this is typically known as the male hormone. So testosterone is mainly responsible for libido or sex drive. This surges right before and right after ovulation. You know, our bodies are designed to basically want to get pregnant. So it's going to increase right around the time that you're actually fertile to become pregnant. Okay, now I'm going to get into the actual phases. So like I said, the first phase I'm going to talk about is the follicular phase. This first phase is typically 7 to 10 days, depending on how long your cycle is. Estrogen especially is going to slowly start to rise as it's getting ready to form that uterine lining. And then follicle stimulating hormone is also going to rise so that an egg can get ready to be released. And then the next phase is the ovulatory phase. This phase is typically 3 to 4 days. This is when you're going to see the highest spike in your hormone levels. So estrogen is going to peak, FSH is going to peak, luteinizing hormone is going to peak, as well as testosterone. So your body has gotten ready to release an egg, and now it has released an egg, and it's made these conditions possible so that an egg can be fertilized. So this is also going to be that fertile window that I was talking about earlier in the video. That's ugly. Someone could have told me I needed to take that off. An egg, once it's released, lasts 24 hours in the uterus. That's it. It lasts 1 day once it's been released. The cool thing is sperm can last, I'm always on the safe side, so it can last 5 to 7 days in the uterus. So that's why your fertile window is going to start a couple days before you actually ovulate. So if you're not going to ovulate until, say, the 27th, but you have unprotected sex on the 23rd, the sperm is still going to be there when you actually release the egg and you can get pregnant. 24 hours after you ovulate, that egg is going to die, and then that's kind of where that fertile window closes. That's basically the theory behind any form of natural birth control, is actually tracking to the day when you ovulate and then using protection in that fertile window. So the next phase is the luteal phase. This phase is typically 10 to 14 days. And this is where progesterone really comes into play. So progesterone is going to start to increase quite a bit in order to preserve that uterine lining in case there was a fertilized egg, so that the egg can now implant onto the uterine wall. And as progesterone is increasing, it's also signaling back to stop the production of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, because we've already ovulated. It's done. So progesterone says, stop doing that. We don't need you anymore until the next cycle. And then around halfway through this phase, you're going to see estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone start to fall again. So we're creeping back down. This is where you start to see PMS symptoms, which she points out in the book are common but completely unnecessary. So that's where your diet and cycle tracking really starts to come into play. So you can tailor your diet towards your cycle in order to naturally alleviate a lot of PMS symptoms. Now we're at the end of your luteal phase. All of your hormones are again at the lowest point, and that is when you're gonna start to bleed. So this is now your menstrual phase. And that is because progesterone, which, as I said, is responsible for keeping your uterine lining intact, that is now fallen all the way to its lowest concentration. So you're gonna start to lose that uterine lining, and it's gonna shed out, and you're gonna bleed. And that is what we are all familiar with. So that is the cycle, and then it starts again. So your hormones are low, they're gonna rise again in the follicular phase. So that is the overview of your cycle. Why is this important? This is important because your hormones don't just affect how you bleed. They affect your entire body. So these hormones are responsible for so many key things that go on in your body. So your brain function, your gut function, the way that you should exercise, the way that you should eat. Your hormones are affecting your body in a super cool way that allows us to kind of live in this natural rhythm every month. And that's something that I'm super interested in and want to talk about more. In this video, I'm just gonna, again, give an overview. So your follicular phase, this is when you're gonna start to see your energy rising slowly. So you might think to yourself, oh, I've just finished my bleed. Maybe I'll leave the house a little bit. Maybe I wanna move my body and get some exercise going. I'll take a brisk walk, I'll do Pilates. I wanna get my body moving. This is a great time to make plans with friends, maybe try a new restaurant or a new activity. Maybe if it's working out, try something that you haven't done before. In general, it's a time to try new things, try new activities, be creative in your life. And then there's the ovulatory phase. This is when your friends are saying to you, oh my gosh, your skin is glowing. Like you go maybe to a party and you feel really magnetic and you're the life of the party and you're being funny and making everyone laugh. And this is your ovulation phase, and that is on purpose. Nature and the way that we're created is trying to get you pregnant. So you're gonna be more attractive. It's a time to feed into that energy and just be really social and communicative and have conversations with people that maybe you've pushed off or whatever it might be. Yeah, just get out there. Then there's the luteal phase. So this is the longest phase. It can sometimes last 2 weeks. So at the beginning of this phase, you might have more energy because you're kind of riding off that high of ovulation. By the end of the 2 weeks, you might see your energy levels dip. So that's a really good time to start drawing your energy and your attention inward for being productive and getting those tasks done. It's just a time of closure and completion and completing these projects. I personally like to kind of slow down my social life at the end of this luteal phase, and it's important to know how to draw boundaries for yourself. So if you don't feel like going out, then you don't have to. Then you're gonna be at your menstrual phase. This is what I like to call my hibernation week. I am a huge homebody. I am pretty introverted. So I love taking this week of when I'm bleeding to just stay home and maybe work on cleaning the house and honestly just taking naps. I personally love taking naps, and this is a great time to do that because your body is, like I said, kind of at that lowest point with your hormones. So just take this time to maybe draw yourself a bath or cuddle up with a book or watch a movie, whatever gives you energy. Do a face mask or paint your nails, whatever it is that makes you comfortable and brings you joy in those quieter, more slow moments. And this is also a really good time for self-reflection, for thinking about goals and, preparing yourself for the coming weeks, setting intentions. Sit down and talk with your partner or whoever and just talk about what your goals are and where you see yourselves in a couple months or a couple of years. It's a really good time to do that. I love this stuff. It's so beautiful that our bodies were designed in this way to have that rhythm naturally, where we're getting our cups filled with that hibernation week and getting all of this energy by doing those cozy activities so that you can get ready to go out into the world, start making those plans and seeing your friends and getting projects done, and then you come back and you do the self-care. It's just so cool that our bodies are made this way. Yeah, I hope you guys find it cool too. I think I'm gonna end this video here. Hopefully all of this made sense. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something. Please let me know if you like this kind of video. Put it in the comments and let me know if you have any questions about this or what other kinds of videos you want to see. I have a couple ideas, but I really want to hear from you guys and what you would like to see from this channel. Please, again, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!